The 25th Hour Radio Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the show today, my guest is Kentucky State Senator Danny Carroll. Thank you so much for being on my show today, Senator.
It's my pleasure, Rob.
Now, let's jump right into it, Senator. My show is about people's lives. A quick 10 to 15 minutes, letting my guest explain the story behind how they came to be the person they are today. So let's rewind a little bit back to when you were a younger man, entering college, Murray State, where you got your degree in criminal justice. Why choose that career path? What was it about criminal justice that excited you so much?
Well, all that actually began back in high school. I can remember a business law class that I had in Marshall County High School, and just the field of law caught on then, and just the interest started, and I was fascinated with it and all aspects of it. And once started attending Murray State, and then the focus started going more towards law enforcement, and attended there. And early in my college years, I applied for a position down in San Antonio, Texas, and I think I was probably about 18, 19 at the time, and too young really to go that far away from home at that point. And I ended up, I stayed in school, applied with the Kentucky State Police, and they told me they wanted me to finish college first. And it was a short time after that got a call from Paducah Police Department, and they offered me a position, and accepted that position. And I had to quit mid-semester in school at that point, but went on throughout the years and continued my education and obtained a degree from Murray State.
You answered my second question already. That's really rare, because I was going to ask, once you got your degree and set yourself on a path with a career in law enforcement, did you always have it in your mind that you were going to basically stay put and work the area you grew up in? Never any thoughts of leaving the area? Was that your only thought of leaving the area? Was it just because of you want to experience the world, or what was your thought about going to San Antonio? What was the reason?
Well, at that age, I was just ready to start, and, just young and eager to move on. And in San Antonio at the time, they would accept officers at a younger age. In Kentucky, you had to be 21. So that played in it. And really, I was not mature enough at that point to live on my own. And it was a long way from home. And, I loved growing up in Marshall County, and so many people there helped me to get to that point, and helped me throughout the years as a young man, and mentored me. And I owed a lot to the folks at home. And, really in the beginning, I wanted to try to get a position within Marshall County, and there weren't any opportunities there at the time. And then it came up in Paducah, and they were gracious enough to give me a chance, and I loved it. And as it turned out, I wouldn't change a thing. Paducah was really good to me, and got to experience so much during my career that most people never get to experience, and got to help a lot of people in 24 years, and just very blessed to have those opportunities.
Yeah, now you served, like you said, for 24 years with the Paducah Police Department. You received many awards and commendations along the way. Let's talk about that last year, or whenever it was that you decided to call it quits and to set a retirement date. I'm assuming everyone has their own personal reasons when making their retirement decisions. What was your decision? What was your reason?
Well, I had always planned that around 27 years is about what I wanted to do, and that's, financially there were some considerations there that was about the level to where, and we had a great retirement at the time, and so it was looking at it. I had bought a couple years of retirement. And so I knew that it was close during that point, and I worked my way up to assistant chief within the department. And, during the last couple of years, there was a lot of turmoil within the department with the chief that we had at the time. And it was not a very pleasant time for any of the officers there, and me included in that. And it had even gotten to a point where leadership within the department had called for the chief's resignation. And, and I was wrapped up in the middle of all that, and I had been groomed to be the next chief, and I was working towards that. I had worked towards that my entire career, and once all that happened, the city commission thought it was in the best interest to go outside the department, and I was very upset, angry, hurt about all of that, and so that was a struggle towards the end, and the career didn't really end the way I had envisioned. But looking back on it now, I think our city commission made the right decision, and we did need a break from the turmoil that we had, and brought in a good chief, and he stayed for a while, kind of stabilized things, and as it stands now, a good friend of mine is chief, and is doing an excellent job. And for me, things worked out okay. I think God sometimes has other plans for you than you have, and sometimes you just have to learn to step back and listen and let it happen. And I think my career is a prime example of that.
Now, 2 weeks after you retired, you were selected to serve as the president and CEO of Easter Seals West Kentucky. Now, this is kind of a two-parter here, and that is, like, number one here, why did you have a personal interest in the Easter Seals? And two, for those who might not know, if you would give a brief description on the Easter Seals and how they serve the community.
Okay. Easter Seals is a large organization for our area. We serve over 600 children and adults. We do various programs for adults with disabilities, adult daycare, adult day training, employment programs, several programs at our adult center. At our child center, we do inclusive child care. We do therapy services, and we also have a child development center for kids that are medically fragile. So we have a lot of different services here for typically developing kids and special needs children and adults. And it was kind of funny how all of it came together. The timing of it was just perfect in that, I was looking to retire, and then the opening came up here. And what a lot of people may not know is my wife and I have a child with special needs, and we hadn't utilized services at Easter Seals, but had utilized a lot of the similar services with therapies and things like that as she was growing up. And so I understood the services, and I understood, the issues that our families faced. And I think it just ended up being a great match. And coming in, the organization was struggling badly. We were in debt, about $500,000, and getting ready to close some doors. And that's a lot to face, just coming in and trying to learn the system, having been in law enforcement for so many years and not really being expert in any of these areas other than understanding the needs of our families. So a huge challenge coming in, and something that I really needed, and kind of helped me to put what had happened the last couple of years at the police department behind me, and have some great challenges. And within a couple of years, we were having successes. We had turned the organization around. We had restored our reputation with our donors, with the community. Our program quality started improving, and our numbers started coming up in our programs. And within a couple of years, we were operating in the black, and through support like the Charity League at Paducah, WPSD Lions Club Telethon, and a lot of other donors, and a very supportive board. We're doing well today. We're stabilized and even looking to grow. We're about to do a $1 million investment into our adult center with expansion and remodeling, and hopefully in a couple of years we're even going to be building an autism center in Paducah, and we're looking forward to that project also.
That's awesome, Senator. And this question here I'm about to ask you is probably the longest setup to a question I've ever done with a guest. So just bear with me on this one. All right. I don't know when you decided to turn your attention towards politics, but I know there had to have been that moment when you sat down and discussed your intentions with your family. And I'm asking this question because of the general stereotype of a politician. It's not always a good thing to be in the public eye and to have to make tough decisions. You're never going to be able to make everyone happy. And for instance, you can take every president of the United States and take a before and after picture of when they enter office and when they leave office, and they age faster than the normal man, it seems. It's a heavy burden when you're an elected official. Was it tough to get that initial endorsement from your family? Not that you couldn't do it, but because they care about you. Maybe they didn't want you to see you go through the things that politicians have to go through.
Well, it started several years ago. I had been at the police department, I guess, about 12 years, and back in Marshall County, the current sheriff was retiring, and so I decided to run for that office, and we lost that election by, I think, less than 300 votes. 4 years after that, decided to try it again because it was so close. And on the second time around, we lost by, I think, like 133 votes. And very discouraged at that point. And but 4 years after that, the incumbent sheriff left, and the office was open again. So we decided to give it one more try, and put my wife and my family through a lot during those years. And it was just covering one county, but carrying on a full-time job here in Paducah and campaigning back home where I was living at the time was very difficult, and on me and on the family. And we changed political parties after the second election. We realized that because of our pro-life beliefs and the other tenets of the Republican Party, that we needed to change, and it was the right thing to do. And fully realizing that in Marshall County at the time, it was probably going to cost us the election because Republican candidates just didn't really win in Marshall County at a local level at that point. And sure enough, lost the third time. And after that, I had sworn that I'd never run for office again. And my wife was going to hold me to that. And I had stuck to that and really hadn't thought much more about it since then. And, I focused on my career in Paducah and had an awesome career, and very grateful for all of that. But I learned a lot through those years, and I had some great mentors, Assistant Chief Gary Reese at that department, Assistant Chief Sandy Jocelyn, some other friends who I worked for, and I really learned leadership and had to make some tough decisions through those years, working internal affairs, being assistant chief, and unpopular decisions, and lost a lot of friends during those years. So I think that kind of toughened me and made my skin thicker dealing with all that. And so I really wasn't really too concerned about that as we moved forward and realized that Senator Leeper was not going to seek re-election. And I saw that one day and got to thinking about it, and I called a good friend of mine who lives in Marshall County, is involved with politics and known for years, and she was helpful through the campaigns for sheriff, and just kind of kicked it around with her. And then the next thing I knew, I was meeting with Senate President Stivers and some other folks, and we decided to jump in, and my wife promised that she wouldn't divorce me. And so it was a big challenge, but I went into it with the right mindset, and if it was meant to be, it would happen. If it wasn't, that's okay. We're going to do our best. My life has always been in public service, and this was just the highest level, and something I never really imagined would happen. And we were careful about the decisions and looked at who was in the race to make sure that we would have a chance to win. And I did a lot of, in retrospect of my career, to make sure that I was qualified, that I could contribute should I be elected. And I felt like my law enforcement experience and being in management level, dealing with the city, what I had learned here at Easter Seals over a 4 or 5 year period, so I felt like I could contribute. I felt like I could be effective, and we just kind of jumped in and didn't really know what I was doing with that scale of the campaign. Made a lot of mistakes through the primary, but we did well in the primary, and moving on to the general election, we picked up support, and financially it all went well. And the night of the election, when the returns were coming in, everybody kept saying, well, go ahead and give your speech, and it was kind of hard to believe that it was really happening, having gone through losing 3 elections for sheriff, that it was all coming together. And it's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you're like, wow, what do I do now? Yeah. And but a lot of good friends, and Senator Leeper has really helped me and mentored me, and a lot of folks in Frankfort, and we're getting some good things accomplished in Frankfort. And I can advocate for those with special needs, and with our school system dealing with special needs, and the adult services and education and judiciary committee that I serve on. So a lot of different areas I'm able to contribute, and making some good progress. It's been a great fit, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Now, has your term so far as senator been everything you had hoped it would be, or has it been more difficult than you had first imagined?
I will honestly say it's been more difficult. There is so much that you have to absorb, and And even though there is a lot of support with the Legislative Research Commission and the staff up there with what they provide, but there are just so many issues that you have to look at, and trying to balance that with a full-time job, and that in itself could easily be a full-time job. And that's been the biggest struggle I think that I've had, is just balancing the time and the guilt that I feel not putting all my time into one or the other. But it is a part-time legislative position, and my board here at Easter Seals has been very supportive, and my staff has stepped up and really filled in for me, and so it's working out well. It's getting easier with each week as I understand more and get more comfortable with the procedures and the processes and the topics, and I'm learning a lot. And it is the most frustrating and most rewarding thing all at once. But that's what government is all about, and and I think our goal is to improve the quality of life of our residents, and I think that's coming, and I think we're going through some hard times, and we will for a couple more years. But with the new government we have in place, I'm very optimistic about the future.
Like I mentioned earlier, Senator, I know sometimes politicians take a beating from the general public, but I also know it takes a special type of person to be able to do the things you do, and for that I do commend you. For the people listening right now who are from your district, District 2 in Kentucky, before we start to wrap things up, do you have anything to say to the people you serve?
Well, just to know that my goal has been to listen to them, and I use social media to put topics out and asking for their input, and I try to respond to every message that I get, and just that my goal is for all the counties that I serve, the 4 counties that I serve, to each one of them to feel like they're being served equally, and for them to know that my heart is in this, and they're giving my very best effort, and I fight to give them a voice. Sometimes in Frankfort, there's a tendency not to really think about the counties in far west Kentucky, and you have to be very vocal and stand up for your people, and that's something I learned through Senator Leeper, and I continue to do that as he did. And we are making some progress, and with the contingency from West Kentucky, with the senators and representatives that represent this part of the state, and we work together very well, and we're moving forward, and we're watching out for our people. Not everyone is going to disagree and are going to agree on everything, and I welcome the disagreements, I welcome the opinions, and I welcome discussion with my constituents, and I appreciate that. And it's always good to hear from people when they do care enough about what you're doing to voice their opinion. So, we're doing our very best, and I do look for a bright future for our region and for our state.
Now, you mentioned social media. Where can people go as far as your social media? Are you talking Facebook, or are you talking Twitter? What are you talking about here?
Yeah, it's mostly through Facebook for what I do. I also do Twitter, and it's, I think it's Kentucky State Senator Danny Carroll is the on Facebook, and they just have to look it up on Twitter. I don't remember right now, but still trying to learn my way around all the social media avenues. The Facebook has been great, and I've gotten a lot of returns with that, and that continues to grow. And it's been a tool that I use pretty frequently, being so far away, and I can just, if something's up for discussion on the Senate floor, I can pop out a message on Facebook saying, folks, what do you all think about this? And you get some good discussions started, and for the most part, people are very positive, and they don't argue, and they handle it properly, and not a lot of mean messages that come as a result of it. So it's been a good thing.
Well, Senator Carroll, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me. It's been an honor having you on the show, sir.
Rob, I appreciate all that you do.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.